Welcome to Big Hope. You're the second guy who has done recurring episodes.
You guys an honor, man.
Yeah,
What can I say?
yeah.
We had too much
We
fun
also,
last time.
yeah, exactly. Last time the conversation was good. We're also honored to like have that. So I saw people keep coming back.
Yeah, you don't want a guy who doesn't come back. It's like, no, I'm going back to that. Not podcast.
So we've improved a lot since then. We lost your video by the way. That's why it's not on YouTube. Well, we didn't lose it. We have it, but the disc is dead. So we know it's there, but we just can't get it.
As long as the audio is there.
Yeah,
man.
the audio is there. The audio is there. What have you been up to, man? That's
You see what have I been up to? In what sense? So many things.
So let's start with
Socially.
business. Last time we came, we talked about the financial, the company you're running.
Business-wise, it's what I realized is that financial models are not enough.
I see.
So what I'm working on right now, I'm working on two things. One, I'm not sure if I can say right now, but the other one is called FinPlus, which is it's an accounting software. Just picture Wave, where it's primed for small and medium-sized businesses in East Africa. So that's what I'm focused on.
I see.
Yeah, I have a few guys in Kenya doing it for me. I might be joining them after my second vaccine.
Okay.
Apparently it's ravishing those guys, finishing them off.
Yeah, true.
So I don't want to, aggravate that. One of my family be here, my family be there, the guys were working. So after that, I intend to go. It's, how Wave works. It's basically, it's going to be a point of sale, right?
Okay.
So when you're selling a product, it goes into the software. The software transfers all of that data onto the your financial statements, the ratios, the diagnostic tools. These are all things which I put in my financial models. But now the process is long because changing what's in an Excel sheet to code and into graphs, and I want it to be in real time. Which I use this thing called ERP. So I'm also trying to learn the tech behind it, but also articulating that idea to the tech guys and making sure you're on the same page.
Yeah.
Because you don't want them to come back and say, I thought you meant this. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
So I'd rather take my time, as long as when you bring the product and show it, Ugandans like simple things.
Yeah.
They've truly appreciated it because apparently right now, Ugandans who are using Wave have a problem with payroll and expenses, something silly like that. So that reflect well on the financial statements. There's an incongruence. So we're going to fix all of that and, hopefully it will.
Yeah, so first run through me, because I think I've had Wave, but, I'm sure there are people who have not. Yeah, just run it through me like the guy who would probably use it, right?
Yeah.
What does this do and how is it better than me writing my book?
Okay, so now, assuming you have a business you're selling let's say you're selling like gadgets, right? So you put in your inventory and whatnot. You input how many sales you make. Yeah. These are people who are almost, I don't want to say financially illiterate, but they don't know things like a balance sheet.
Yeah.
A balance sheet has assets, liabilities, equity, then cash flow statements, income statements, which show your profit or loss. Now, all of those are inputted, and these softwares do it for you, since
they do the double entries kind of.
Yeah, also journal entries and whatnot.
Okay.
But even in the cash flow statements, and profit, same thing.
Profit and loss.
There are certain deductions which you'd have to have had a few finance classes to understand.
Yeah.
So these algorithms do that for you, and they just enable you to keep your financials. Otherwise, like I said last time, you don't reach 3 years in. And you go to a bank for a loan and you have nothing, right? So these things just help you keep tabs. But that's not, and they also have payroll services, right? So you can input your employees, how much you get to pay them. They do it for you monthly. That's something eventually we want to integrate but it's also not as easy. But eventually, nothing is easy. Nothing is easy.
Yeah, true.
So there's that, and that's pretty much what they do. Yeah.
Okay, and so you're building the thing from bottom up.
Yeah.
Wow, nice. Why are you doing sort of? I know, is it QuickBooks? So I know like some high-end stuff that
QuickBooks
sort of does.
QuickBooks is a bit complicated.
Yeah.
The reason I chose to do this is because I did a survey, right? And one of the questions was, why do Ugandan startups fail? And the options were, what stood out to me was, I put a lack of poor financial management, lack of money, competition, something which I need we speak about,
Yeah.
and poor human resource, something like that. Lack of experience in human resource. Majority of people, businesses said lack of financial services, like poor financial management. The second was obviously a lack of money. Now, the second thing which I'm doing, which eventually I might elaborate a bit on it, but it addresses the problem of lack of money. So it's those two problems I'm trying to solve. Ugandans, poor money management in a business. They don't know what's going in and what's going out. Yeah. And also QuickBooks and Wave don't have diagnostic tools. Now, what my diagnostic tools do, I have industry benchmarks of financial ratios. These financial ratios come from the financial statements. And automatically, it's easy to see in the Excel sheets how the formulas and whatnot, they compare what your financial ratios are with the industry and what they should be. So there's a small comment. So it can tell you this is where the problem is. So this is exactly where the problem is. Yeah, so those guys don't have that. That's something which I want to integrate in that as well. So you can get it as a notification as soon as things are going south. So you know exactly, and that's what Ugandans need. They don't know what's going, they don't know what's really going with the numbers at least, right? You can see things and they're making sense, but there's something which is in the background, which has been, so that's something we have to address and make it as simple as possible for people as well.
Yeah, so if I have my business and I have like 5 employees, right? So I have a shop of TVs on Kampala Road and I have like 5 boys doing the sales for me. Who actually has the system in the shop? Is it each one of them? Is it just who has the app? For example, if it's an app, is it an app? Is it like software on a computer?
Yeah, it can be an app as well.
Okay.
Web and
web.
Mobile.
I see.
So you can have it on your phone and you can have admins. You can choose, these are 2 guys who are in charge here. You guys just be selling these things. These guys will put all the data here. So it will be, I want it to be I want the interface to be as interactive as possible. I want you to be able to check your phone. I want you to get notifications of like how many you've sold in a day. And the notification, it pops up on your phone, things like that. Or even like the diagnostic tools, when something's going south, comes on your, lock screen. So that is super simple for everyone, it solve a serious problem.
I started working on something similar a while back. Well, not exactly like this. I did some work. I bought the domain. I think I read somewhere, I think Elon Musk was making a joke that he buys a domain, then 1 year later he realizes, he's just not motivated enough to build something. I think it's the same story. I bought a domain called Pieper. Pieper is slang for man. And my idea was to do something like WhatsApp, a chat that does almost the same. And I was focusing on bookkeeping. Sort of when you sell, you can scan stuff you're selling and all that, but you use a chat room. So you can have like multiple managers. If you're in a shop in Kampala Road, you sell a phone, you just maybe scan the phone and send a message in a group chat, because people are comfortable here with group chatting. Group chats, but it does in the background. It does the almost maybe not exactly like financial diagnostics and stuff like that, but it does the keeping up to tabs for you, right? So you scan, send it in, then guys in the group who are like technically other managers can like approve. A guy gets a message on his phone like a normal chat, they approve, and in between that you can still have other conversations, right? So you can like insult people, you can talk about work, you can do all that other stuff, but you can still layer it up with like real financial stuff. And I thought
that was a good idea. A forum that's casual, but you get something from it as well.
And the target for me, I was pointing at were the people who are, weddings. Most people fundraise. It's sort of like the biggest form of fundraising in the country, right? Weddings and funerals. Funerals, people don't do it actively, but also there's also like some sort of informal mechanism where people collect money, and stuff like that. But for weddings, people could send out to like groups. Hey, guys, come to my meeting, so then you can go to the meeting and then they can pressure you into like giving money and shit like that. But if instead of that, they'll just tell you, hey, instead of like joining a WhatsApp group for the meeting, join a paper group, right? And then you can go on and insult each other all you want, but then you can like pledge real money. Exactly. Like you can pledge real money. I wanted to hook it up with like mobile money mostly and Visa maybe.
Why did you do it, man?
It's still I'm still renewing the domain now for 2 years. So it's at the back of my head. I think like most of this stuff you get, and maybe now like I say I'm like old enough to focus a little bit. But by the time, I think when you're like, I think your age now, this guy Max age, you know, like when you have too many ideas, you have too many, right?
You have to.
You have too many.
Excess.
You can start moving one by one by one by one by one, and you just be shallow at all of them.
Yeah.
Well, most of the people like who get shit done are those who like have the one idea,
Focus
and
on
then
one
they,
thing
and
and
they just
yeah,
go
so-
deeper into it. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, definitely, this is something we can talk about if you want.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And we see how that goes.
For sure.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about the other part of? It smells like
I can-
investment, but
I can talk about the second one. The second one is almost like it's going to be called Seed 6, right? And I've started on it. We're just going to get the prototype either at the end of this week or the end of next week. What it's going to be like? It's going to be best way I can put it. It's going to be like Tinder for businesses. It's going to be a platform where startups can meet investors.
oh, I see. And Chazia swiping left. Okay.
That's
You probably don't want to
as
know.
much as I can say. But I'll send you as soon. I'll send you the
Sure.
prototype for
Yeah,
sure,
if you get an
Super
investor for my
interesting.
PAP as well, I'll
100%.
post it there.
Link them up.
I do have to put like a naked woman as the profile. What do investors want? What are investors into?
What are you looking for, man?
So yeah,
What have you been up to, man?
me, yeah, again, it's this thing.
thing,
Yeah, trying to like I think I've focused a little bit. I would say this year I've not been this person ever in my life. This year I've really focused a little bit to get this to a place where I'm confident. And we are trying to enter into like indie media, cheap, low budget media stuff. Yeah, so we are doing this. We are trying to do some documentaries. We are trying to look for gigs for ads. Yeah, you know.
The audiobooks.
Yeah, so the audiobooks. The thing is, I haven't got the right readers. I
The
thought that
readers.
was
I
the
thought you got
easiest
readers,
thing. Yeah,
yeah.
I thought that. No, so I had a guy who gave me a gig for articles. So he's like, read for me my articles, because I pitched him the same thing. He told me, you know what? Start with my articles. If you can give me good stuff, I publish articles on my website every day. If you can get people to produce the voice within 24 hours, then we can talk about, you know, how much it's worth. Man, was I able to
Finding
get
those
like,
guys,
yeah, like
Oh,
people who read, people who I knew were good readers, they're just not good performers. It's not.
They don't know how to do it,
Yeah,
eh?
you won't listen to like 10 minutes of that
Because I was
shit.
looking at like Mark Manson's blog. It recently introduced an audio version.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to read it, you can just listen to the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
But yeah, I mean that's so. I'm actually still pursuing that. But now I'm looking for also, yeah, a few of my guys have been like setting them up with like tutorials, you know, to do, you know, like voice acting is a real
Voice-
thing, you know.
yeah,
It's
a
not
real
it's
thing.
not it's
You
not
don't
like,
just come. Yeah.
it's not just like sort of echoing stuff out. So yeah, they're doing some of that, and every now and then we circle back and see how far they've gone. Yeah, but that's also the thing is I've not had a chance to like get a deal for a book. I think which would be a good thing. Like if someone could trust me with their book,
The book can say, okay.
I can spend, I can spend like 2 months or 3 months trying to get it right, and I think we can get something out. But yeah, I haven't.
And that's just English, that's not Uganda.
Yeah. I mean, Uganda. I don't know if Uganda could
translating
be
it to
easier.
Uganda so that the common man can listen to it.
Yeah, but I actually think Luganda could be easier. I mean, Luganda is hard to read, but if you find someone who can read it,
properly.
yeah,
at
they
least,
can read it. It's like for me, I speak Luganda, I listen to it clearly, but yeah, the speed at which I would read a paragraph in Luganda compared to the speed at which I read like an English thing,
English and
yeah,
actual English.
it's like 10 times. I'll do it 10
Different,
times
yeah.
faster in English.
Yeah.
But if you find someone who's comfortable reading Luganda, like these guys,
Fluent.
those guys are usually good at performing it as well. So yeah, so that's most of my focus has been here now, trying to get this thing to work. You
That's
know,
interesting, man.
Yeah.
Recently, I've been reading about like the efficacy of like competition. Tell me about competition, like how all our lives. I think the most successful businesses are the ones which aren't competitive. All our lives have been raised to think like you're a loser if you fail to compete.
Yeah.
Like sports day, if you're a sixth, you're a loser.
Yeah.
Class, if you're in the bottom, you're a loser. But I think competition is for losers to a certain extent, because when you think about like capitalism and competition, right? Capitalists, it's accruing capital. You're meant to keep all the capital.
Yeah.
Competition, the capital is shared.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now, if you like really think about like companies like Google, for example, right?
I see.
Google has 66% of the market share. But when you ask them, they're going to say they're going to inflate where they are. They won't tell you about search engines, which they eliminated in Microsoft back in the day. They'll tell you we're a tech company, we're competing with Apple,
Yeah, with Facebook, with Microsoft.
Facebook, those big companies, right?
Yeah.
100%. And with competition, like for example, if you're a restaurant in Uganda, you're going to say your competitive advantage is, you try to look for a competitive advantage. You're going to say something small, like your cuisine is like half British, half Nepalese. You're trying to bring out, yet your competition, as in you're more focused on beating your competition than the prize. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that ties back into Rene Girard's theory of mimetic theory, right? Because like in Shakespeare days, primate and ape used to mean imitate. So in some weird way, we are all imitating each other in business. Like competition is where we're so focused. We're all sheep to some extent, psychological. And even like intellectually, a lot of people speak about competition. It sounds like it's a good thing, but it really isn't when you think hard enough about it. I think this is one of those things where, like, like Peter Thiel asks, what's one thing which people disagree with you on, but you think is right?
Yeah.
That's definitely one of them, which I agree with him on.
Yeah. No. So when you said that, actually, it's Peter Thiel who came to my mind, right?
100%.
Yeah. So the monopoly thing, and once we were talking with Davis, the guy who runs Rocket Health and TMCG, I think one episode, and I was telling him sort of from me the way I see it, what would be success for him is if Amazon bought him out, right? He's at that. Okay, like, and I was just sort of, I'm also a little bit pessimistic, but maybe we'll get to that point. I was trying to show him that this is a good idea, what he's doing with telehealth, and he's also a very hardworking guy, and he's executing this right. And I was there almost when he was starting, so I've seen where he has come from, and I see how
journey,
he has grown, and it's impressive. It's impressive. But I was telling him that in the end, if Amazon saw potential in this, because I think where they're going in the end is I'll have a Rocket Health or TMCG app on my phone, and it will be my doctor basically. It will replace what would be a personal doctor. So if I have a headache, I'll put in my symptoms, or if I connect it to my watch, it will tell me when I'm not working out enough or what pills I need to take when my temperature rises. Ideally that's where they have to go, inevitably.
Yeah.
But I told him, by the time you get to that place where you're now serving me end to end, your consumer product, you have a consumer product, you're serving me end to end. Amazon is either going to buy you out or it's going to beat you, right?
It's going to come for you.
The whole monopoly thing is,
100%,
tech is being, and this happened before with telecom in the US, right? When you see like AT&T, is it AT&T? And their competitors, right? What they did is they started creating cartels, right? They don't sort of allow newcomers. They claim to be competing within each other, but they're sort of sharing a pie in a huge monopoly, right? And it's something that's happening with tech. Tech right now, you see stubborn people like maybe Snapchat, refuse to sell. Yeah, but right now it's hard to come, and maybe this new one, TikTok. But again, because the Chinese thought they needed a pie of the tech industry. But if you look at the approach in tech right now, you don't come up with anything new if it's using Apple's operating system or Google's operating system, and one of those big guys doesn't try to buy you out. If they don't show interest in buying your shit, you're not doing anything. You're competing. That's what you're saying.
You're competing. You're not really doing anything special.
Exactly. And like inevitably, like the same thing. The paper thing I was telling you. I was thinking, how does this like scale out without PayPal coming to be like, yo, this is a financial thing. We are very interested in it. Bring on board. How do you build it? For me, it's a little bit demotivating. I think that's why I like this.
All of your hard work is going to be taken over by these guys, right?
I mean, it's there's money, right? So most people look at it and say, you know what? In the end, I carry my duffel bag and go and have fun. But if with that mentality, I don't know if you have the mentality of like, picking the bag in the end. If you can build something like
it's
that's
huge,
big enough,
right?
exactly. You have to.
Yeah, it depends. I was reading an article about like Amazon. Amazon is apparently the worst. Even like small things like lamps. There's a company which is creating lamps. So now they're making crazy sales. Even with these pants recently, these chicks that like tights and whatnot. So Amazon sees you're making sales, so they make the exact same commodity as in think you're making product. And they just use the algorithms to put your product down and that's it. As in your business there, it's just like that. That's demoralizing.
I know.
That's very demoralizing.
The thing with when I was in when I just joined campus, a lot of people were saying Bing was still coming up. You know, Bing is the competitor to Google and whatnot. But I think I had one of those keynote speeches where I think Google I/O, you know, one of those keynote speeches, the CEO then of Google was saying, you know, their competitor in search is Amazon, right? And at that point, I didn't get it, yeah? But the thing is, most people go to Google to look for stuff they want. You know, apart from, you know, you go to check for headache or that shit. Most of the other times, you're going to buy stuff, you know. You know, you can Google how much is an iPhone.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Hey,
now
they
Amazon,
also
now Amazon is the right best place to like go and
to buy that.
because they're not even giving you like anyone's opinion. They're
Yeah.
giving you the actual
They're all
price.
in cahoots.
Yeah. And the tricky part is it's even happening here in Jumia, right? The tricky part is Amazon holds too much power that if they don't choose to put you on the front page, you know, if I search for, say, these cameras, right? I search for Lumix. I say I want to buy a Lumix camera. And, you know, say Amazon has a deal with Panasonic. So Panasonic can ship straight from the factory, but I'm a wholesaler of Lumix, right? So I buy from Panasonic and I keep. And I sell on commission, say. So we have the same price as Panasonic from the factory. If Amazon refuses to put me on their front page, there's nothing I can do literally.
Zero.
From the if someone has to scroll through like
Yeah.
exactly. There's
Oh,
literally nothing that I can do to get it to work. So
But
that's
wouldn't you do the same thing if you're in that position?
yeah, I mean, of course, that's what you're saying. Like
Yeah.
everyone else, if they have room like to compete,
Remove that.
then
If,
what
if,
you
if
build
they're
your
starting to
business-
threaten the, you know?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's I think eventually, like if you think in those terms, that's where the money is, and that's very similar to what we're trying to do as well. So we are trying to keep this as cheap as possible. We are trying to keep it to hope it's scalable, right? So if we can have like, if we can on one day, for example, at this hour, if we can be able to like do 10 simultaneous podcasts, right? So 10 people are doing podcasts, and then we can move this out of Kampala and set up like teams in most of the remote places the thing we haven't figured out yet is the internet, right? If we can have like people broadcast more local stories, right? So you have like say a village in it's in Karamoja.
So much shit happens there.
Yeah, exactly.
And no one has any idea.
Yeah. Shit happens there that would be interesting to the Karamajongs, but then maybe in Kampala I'm not interested, but they're also not interested in my shit, right?
Yeah, but imagine by the time Tiger King was interesting to us, imagine what's happening in Karamoja,
exactly.
man.
Exactly, yeah. Nice. Yeah, no, that's
Can you imagine that type of exactly? It's those stories people need to hear, man. Makes a country more rich. But like with the things you do, let me ask you: is it like as in what drives you? Is it like meaning? Is it like, or is it cash? Like eventually.
So let me tell you one thing.
Honestly.
Honestly. When I was at university, I was so impressed by the fact that I can learn how to code. That the thing that drove me for I think the first 2 years at university was scoring a job at Google. It was sort of like Olympics, right?
Yeah,
like I can code enough, you know, like what's the name? The Cheptegei, the Ugandan guy. You know, I can run well enough to be invited among the world's elite, right? And that was my goal.
You're competing with the world.
Yeah. I wanted to prove that I'm good enough as a dev to be hired by Google, right? And then I failed the Google interview.
But you did it, eh?
I did like 6 of them. It was a hectic thing. So now the backup plan was I eventually got like a job at the UN. So the sort of the falling wasn't that far down, right? Yeah. But now, I think I changed. I pivoted a little bit to what I did. I started convincing myself. I think it's part of consolation, but part of it was unjustified. I don't think I got a fair.
Yeah. Understandable.
But so part of that at that point, from I think when I joined UNICEF at around in 2012, around there, and my goal then was to change the world, literally, you know, like make the world. So when I went to again, like most institutions, when you go to the institutions and you're idealistic, you think you're going to find the smartest people solving the hardest problems and shit, and then you enter the institution and it's bureaucracy, you know, write a fucking report even if you have nothing to write it in, just make sure you submit it on time, that shit, And so at that point, the frustration was like, you know, why don't you build like better social systems, right? And so then my goal changed. I wanted to overthrow the government.
Overthrow government, huh?
I thought that I had what it took to take this country
mobilize people. And
actually, I think the mobilizing thing was I hadn't thought about it. Again, that was a naivety, right? I didn't know that it required a lot of mobilization. I just imagined after I now have the seat, how I can do all this dope shit to make the country work.
But getting to the seat that's another mission. It is
So yeah, I spent, I think, a significant amount of my time as well trying to see, how do I prove myself that I can, like, do good work. It's sort of like one of the things that again are frustrating with leadership is the greed. How do you lead people without being greedy, without creating that sort of hierarchy? How do you lead as a sheep, ideally, right? Not to be like the herdsman. Sort of how do you make sure you're in a society that where you encourage the society to lead itself, ideally, not to be like, So sort of, I studied a lot, not studying, like read a lot about
it.
Societies and stuff. Yeah. And now I'm old. It's time to focus on like realistic shit. So right now I think there's an opportunity to reinvent media. Yeah, and I don't know if I'll hold this thought 10 years from now, right?
Yeah. But this is where you are.
Yeah, but
now.
this is where I am. I think there's an
That's
opportunity. There's like this big opportunity to reinvent media. Right now, so for example, you, right? You're not a good example. You're a guy with money. Like a normal guy. Like a normal guy, right? Right now, if, say Mark, right? He had something to say.
Mark, what are you saying about? Anyway, whatever. So that's you, my guy called Mark, who's a normal guy.
So if Mark had like something he thought was important enough to say, right? He, in the traditional media, TV and radio, it would be hard for him to like get the audience, get a platform. That's the right word, right? And but also more importantly, in a if the platform is that small, it's prone to control, right? So the government, for example, it can choose to only allow people it wants to air. What ideally is happening, right? The stuff that's happening in China. Yeah. But what cheap broadcasting, stuff like this, cheap media, what we are trying to do, for example, opens the door up to is I can now, if I'm creative enough, I can create content that can compete with, NTV, with traditional media and traditional radio. And I have control over
who
exactly.
Speak,
who can come to speak, but also how to broadcast it, right? So I can scale this up sort of in a way where I give everyone else, I make it cheaper. So I say, buying this equipment, probably, I invest, say, like 10 M or something, right? That's not money that almost everyone has. But if I can rent it out for like 1% that, for like...
Per episode, especially.
Exactly, yeah. So then more people can actually have the media. All you have to do is like sort of schedule your own time, schedule your content, and do that. And then if you feel like you have what it takes to compete with TV, you don't have an excuse, right?
You don't have so it's there. If you feel like you have something important to say,
exactly.
Come and say.
Like, we had some kids from university once, and they were saying, their dream from school was to be on TV. To be on TV, and the reason they decided to do podcasting, they have a podcast called the Crez Podcast, right? And the reason they decided to podcast was because now they're in university, they're doing law. They realized being on TV is probably harder than they had imagined. Right?
In everyone's head, they think that they're more than they are. Those guys, but like it's not as easy as people think it is.
So I'm at that place now where I feel like now media is a place that can be
revolutionized.
It can be revolutionized, and in a way where I create people to compete with each other. So that's the thing is, B Corp, we compete with Crez Podcast, we compete with Fairly Odd Men, we compete with Radioactive. Yeah, but if I have a business that helps Radioactive and Fairly Odd Men and Crez Podcast to podcast
in general,
then I'm not competing with any of them, right?
In a gold rush, sell shovels.
So exactly. So that's again that sort of it's all there. It's all there. It's all there. And I don't know if it's money really. I think money obviously is important.
But it's more than that.
It's
information.
Exactly.
Which is important.
I think it's power in the end, maybe secretly. I want to overthrow the government, but I'm starting
you started slowly. So in your subconscious, all of these ideas, at the end, there's going to be like a crescendo where, That's interesting. But even like you mentioned, I think it's crazy stat. Joe Rogan has a bigger audience than all of the networks in the States combined.
That's crazy.
Like you can't imagine Alex Jones on CNN, but Joe Rogan will bring him on and 20 million people will see him speaking there.
Exactly.
So he has a platform and everyone can gauge. No one is biased, no one is only only has access to one type of information, one channel. It's easier to manipulate people, and society in general is best when it's driven by truth and it's not manipulated at all. So everyone has equal access to information. No one is, in their own bubble or their own, and that's the type of society we want in general.
Exactly, yeah. And this starts with accessibility, right? For example, what you're doing, right? If you play the game right, you start to make experts like accountants, like pro guys who come to audit, sort of obsolete, because if someone has software, if they're using the software right, the software should be giving them like transparent audit reports automatically, right? And so
with no human error.
Yeah, with no human error. And I know, of course, if it scales enough, then it becomes cheaper, right? So almost everyone has to expertise auditing, because you're investing singularly. Sort of you hire all the best auditors to do so that sort of is, to me, I feel like it's sort of a better approach to capitalism. It's the whole let's fight for the pie thing. I read that Peter Thiel's book, 0 to 1.
0 to 1, splendid, man.
Yeah, it's a amazing,
very
very good book.
There's some people that are truly contrarian thinkers.
Yeah.
All we can do is hope to be, hopefully one day our brains will be like that.
True.
Because like at the end of the day, I think when you look at society in general, right, or just when I look at it and you look at what people think is right or what people think is the norm, what people do, if you do the exact opposite without harming people, obviously, I think you'll be closer to the truth, which will help you. Yeah, but taking that leap, seeing this quote the other day, what is it, something like brilliant ideas are rare, but courage is even more scarce than genius. Something like that.
I see.
Something along those lines.
But that's true though.
Taking that leap, the courage that it takes.
No, that's true. If you think of the original, like people we consider to be super original thinkers, right? If you think of like Albert Einstein, these were not like the guys in that field, right? So for example, Einstein, he was a crack. He was doing physics, but his actual profession, he wasn't like a physicist, in a lab, somewhere. He was like he was in a patent office, actually. He was like a crack clearing people's patents and shit like that. Yeah. But on the side, he goes and, thinks about his physics shit.
That's crazy, huh?
And when he came up with that photons thing, that theory, light is a particle, blah, 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 that stuff. He wasn't like a physicist, like a real physicist. That's the thing that got him the Nobel Prize.
Hobby.
It was just like doing hobby stuff. But like, if you like have the time to think sort of out of the box. Okay, so it's harder for people to think out of the box if it's like the profession. If I have to eat from thinking that way, for example, right? If I'm hired, like I'm a dev, right? I'm like into data engineering. This is what pays my money, and we have a bunch of rules. Write the tests here, make sure the sort of data runs through this, time efficiency, space efficiency. That shit, like the shit I learned from first year. Everyone who goes to school learns that shit, right? It's hard for me now to imagine an innovative way of like data engineering if I'm doing this professionally, right? Because I spend all the time trying to feed, to put
and especially like the foundations, the assumptions are so cemented in your brain.
Exactly.
So concrete. So first of all, it's harder for you to innovate. That's why sometimes like Goldman Sachs, when they encourage applicants from like historians, if you've done philosophy, they're looking for someone who has seen it from the outside in, because that's when they can be like, this is the obvious thing to do, where you were like, why are you not doing it, right? For you who is inside, you cannot see, you're standing too close to the elephant. And then also, people who come from the outside in with new ideas, they are shaking up the infrastructure in your brain. Your cognitive Lego is going to be broken down, and you're going to have to start from scratch, assuming the idea is that revolutionary. So there are two things. And it's crazy, but anyway, it's understandable why it's so hard for like innovation. That's why once it comes, it's truly worth it. And if it's truly revolutionary, it's undeniable. Unless it can be hidden under wraps and whatnot, but in the end it will come out. Now like Bitcoin.
That's what I was going to. Do you have crypto first? So before you even tell us about Bitcoin, do you have crypto? Looks like now everyone who can write code is creating their own crypto.
No, I don't know enough about Bitcoin.
Okay. Yeah. Is it Bitcoin alone?
I haven't read enough about
yeah. Okay. I see.
Bitcoin.
So what about the I know.
But I follow them. Like I'm very aware. Like I know. I know what Bitcoin does. I know blockchain and everything.
I see.
But for me to put my money in it right now,
it's
it's still a bit shaky.
yeah.
It's very volatile. Like you saw what
no,
Elon
true,
Musk did yesterday when he posted Tesla no longer accepting Bitcoin 15% down.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I sort of I think for me the Bitcoin the concept, the sort of physics and the computing behind the Bitcoin's idea, that is I compare it to like relativity shit, Einstein's work. It was truly revolutionary. It's beautiful, it's nice, it's well thought out. But the rushing it to be this money application, alternative to money thing, and in the world we know things like socialism. Like if you read Karl Marx's work, and I've said, if you read the work, it's nice work. It's
beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
those are nice
work.
thoughts. You read and be like, yeah, this is where the world is going to be inevitably, right?
Application.
Yeah, exactly. But you come to the real world, people actually greedy. People would rather hold, someone would rather. Bill Gates. Bill Gates would rather have $1 billion on his name rather than giving free vaccines to Africa. That is just the reality.
That's the reality of life.
Yeah, that is just the reality. That's where we are. And so, Bitcoin is the same thing. It's nice. It's the proof of work thingy.
Financial inclusion.
Yeah, exactly. And also the decentralization bit. That's really nice. But
the best things about it are the worst things. Now the central banks are going to allow regulation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
but as for
how does it comes to take away the big dogs without a negotiation.
Without negotiation. That's a problem.
So you're not invested at all in crypto. So I know most people, it's one fit in. What if it works? What if it doesn't? Right? So they put in like not significant, but it's something.
Yeah. I was really into like in uni, like days. Yeah. That's when I was really into Bitcoin. Like I was really into it. I had a bit, but not that much. But like I was really into Bitcoin, but I sold it. I realized I was just like I was too enthusiastic. I could not see clearly. I wasn't thinking clearly about it, but I was right in the end. If I had kept it right now, it would be much more. But I had to go through that phase to get where I am right now.
Yeah, I see.
Now I was just reading about like NFTs when I was like today morning. And I was trying to see what they are, trying to see if they make sense, if they're like a worth it investment. I realized they're just about clout and support for things you love. I was like, let's see now.
No, but I think that's
definitely
just the beginning,
space for cryptocurrency in the future. I'm just trying to find the place
where it is, yeah. But also, if you look at the future of computing itself, if you look at the work that's being done at Google, if it becomes fruitful, the quantum computer, So what makes a Bitcoin unbreakable is its cryptography, right? So the cryptography behind it is nice. But that cryptography sort of assumes that this is the what? That we are using binary computing, right? The classic computing we are using. When you get to quantum computing, right? The assumptions are that the applications will be breaking most of our more sophisticated cryptographies, right? Yeah, and so that's that gets tricky, like you invest in Bitcoin right now because you're looking long term. You say, maybe this is something I can leave for my kids, if it doesn't, if I can't trip from it when at this time. But
Bitcoin is like going to a casino.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like going to a casino. As in, that's why it's people, as in, you can go if you have a bit of cash, put it in, see what happens, man. See what happens in the next few months, in a year and whatnot. But long term, it's either.
Yeah, so that's the thing. The weird thing is people are investing. Like if you see the guys who are setting up mining shops in China, right? Those guys who are setting up mining shops in Europe, they are investing real money, a lot of it. It's not.
But at the same time, how sustainable is that because of the energy consumption it takes to mine?
I mean that's
another factor.
Sort of for me, the energy argument is again.
Do you think it's valid?
No, it's not. The thing is. If people still put on Christmas lights, and I read this article recently, if people put on Christmas lights, Christmas lights alone, in say the US on Christmas on one day, it's enough kara than Uganda uses in a year, I think, right? Just for Christmas lights, right? Yeah, but if that is not a problem, if we've not reached a place where, people can pay attention to that as a problem, this energy argument is a little bit shady. Have you seen a Bill Gates book? The environmental book. I told the last time
the
we
last
talked.
time we
I
spoke
told you
about
that,
it.
So he published the book.
Yeah. He
And-
finally published it.
Yeah, and in the intro, he makes an argument on why he will not be changing. Sort of. So if say his plane
Yeah.
consumes more electricity than Sebujiri, right?
Yeah,
For example, if he has to travel from, a normal ride would be from, say, his home in Seattle to say an office or to see some innovation in Finland. He will burn a lot of energy. He
More
will put a lot
fuel.
of carbon dioxide in.
Yeah.
So he was justifying that what he's doing is using more expensive renewable fuel that is greener
Cleaner.
fuel. Yeah,
Bad.
but also he's spending, I think, about 7 million a year buying back the carbon, right? So all the carbon is polluting. He's investing in those companies, or he's paying companies directly to pull it back.
his carbon
to
footprint
to pull it back. Yeah, which again, I thought this is just stupid.
These are just stories. These are just stories.
And if you get to a point where you don't like, he has been sort of holding the flag for green
technology,
for
climate,
like global change and stuff. But if that is like his excuse, it's shit is that stupid, then it's hard to take
That's
the whole
crazy.
thing.
Even with Elon Musk, considering the fact that he's banning fossil fuels with those rockets, so
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. But at least the other day I saw him, he's trying to run some competition. He's giving $100 million to the best idea for carbon extraction from the atmosphere. So if you come up with something which can remove, I think that's the solution. Since we're already fucked up the.
I agree. I also think there are two
let's remove
solutions.
that.
So I think what you're saying is right, right? Elon's solution definitely of creating tech that actively pulls the carbon dioxide so we can artificially regulate the ozone layer, basically. Yeah, that's one.
Yeah.
But also sort of colonizing a different habitat.
Oh, 100%. That is that.
Yeah.
I'm
So
on board
that's
with that.
yeah.
I'm bored with that one. Seeing guys making moves with Mars.
Yeah,
They're
I know.
every other day they're on, news.
Yeah, and I saw some pictures. They're mushrooms.
Mushrooms with Mars.
Well, I'm not sure whether it's the website. I was on. No, but
it's
it was this
legitimate,
scientific thing, the Science magazine. It probably was true. There's like the things that look like mushrooms. The pictures are things that look like mushrooms.
Eventually, I believe people will go. Even like in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
our
I
lifetimes.
mean, it's far. It's far. Mars is far.
Yeah.
Right now, even like with the instant speed limit, right? At the speed of light, it's not realistic to think that. Okay, right now we don't have the physics.
Take like
yeah?
6 months.
And that's. Yeah, exactly. 6 months. Is it 6 months?
And longer perhaps, eh?
I think it's longer.
Yeah.
I think it's long. Taking like a real human body, because again, it's
It's not just
like,
not
like you
just
can-
a machine.
Yeah,
to,
you can like throw a rocket for 6 months, but like taking a real human body, it's because again you have to. If it takes say 6 months, you have to put space for food for 6 months, right?
6
Because
months.
in
And
space
now
there
if
is
you're
nowhere.
taking multiple people, imagine the
Exactly,
type of.
I don't think the physics is good enough,
So
right?
far.
And I think the physics is also stagnant, right? It's
right
right
now-
now most of the advances are in computing and all that stuff.
Well, yeah, as an institution, almost like Eric Weinstein says, the way they have removed his universal field theory. No one wants to listen to him. No one wants to. It's crazy, man. But I wonder why. Even like with people say the economy stopped growing in 1970 in the States, and like the what the what do you call it? The average median income is what they should be basing their success off in the economy, not the GDP. What is the terminology for it?
Yeah, and I think I've read something similar.
Yeah, but there's some article, I'll send it to you. It's about the new gimmick economy. And he talks about how capitalism was a coincidence. It was not.
Okay.
It was just a perfect storm for everything because of the industrial,
the
industrial
industrial
age,
revolution,
and whatnot. Otherwise, given any other 100 years in time, capitalism would be a total disaster.
Yeah, but
Maybe it was meant to be
yeah, I mean,
at that time, because now we're perfecting it. We've seen it's not perfect, but then socialism
guys
is
are
there as well.
moving. Yeah. So this is for me what I think. Yeah. First of all, we are not special. Dinosaurs came, they left.
100%.
Hey, we can lie to ourselves with all the thinking and all the beautiful existentialism,
100%.
but we are not special. In the end, we are just organs also moving.
Just
So at some
moving.
point, either we are going to crash the planet and go. It will be our time. We are lucky, at least for us, that what we got to live.
Got to leave.
Yeah, like our great grandchildren probably will come at the real apocalyptic time.
proper. When things are finishing off.
Yeah,
on the
it
end of
is that.
time.
So there's also that. I mean, I'm not worried. I know for sure I'm going to die before the earth. So, yeah,
Oh
fuck
my
it.
god.
Fuck it. And I'll be very honest with you. I think that it is not worth.
There are very few people who can come to terms with that reality. Obviously, I'm on the same boat as you, but there's so few people who can come to, who can properly accept the fact that, let alone even tolerate that thought.
Yeah.
There's a solipsism which has increased, especially given the period of time we've grown up with during social media and whatnot, where certain people can't even comprehend the reality that there's anything in this world apart from them and their brains. Now, to even take them to that level, or even take them to the level of there's not even a you.
Exactly.
Like there's no you. You're just a being who you experience, and you're just a plane. To think about life in that way is very complicated, because now you have to get into meditation. You may flirt with Buddhism, you end up in the wrong direction. You have to come back, then you remember there's existentialism, but these are all thoughts, and you're not your thoughts. They just arise and come and go. You're also a result of society. So how do you know what you're thinking? Are they your thoughts? Are they,
Yeah,
So,
do you have like a practice, like a meditation practice?
100%.
Which do you have, like, are you following like a tradition? Are you doing your own thing?
Let me tell you something. That the religion which I relate to the most is Buddhism. That's which I, not because of the Buddha story is nice, obviously, but the like meditation. I don't think meditation belongs to Christians. Meditate in church and whatnot, but just the process of meditate every single day. It's when waking up.
You're using the Sam Harris
app. It's true.
I got tired of that guy for some reason.
Yeah, you told me, man.
His meditation thing is nice, man.
You told me.
Everything. I started to feel like there's also some sort of bubble with that hyper-rationalism thing. That is sort of disconnected to reality. Sort of, if you told, say, an alien, or if you built a robot and and sort of gave it rules of rationalism, that is how it would end up. But that is because it is not human. It's not engaged in the actual process of being alive, right? But that is what this Sam Harris guy sort of, in my opinion, sort of that's where he pretends to be going.
Is that scientific materialism? There's it takes away from, as human beings, feel things. Like the way they teach like critical thinking. Someone should also focus on like critical feeling, so that it's almost rational, but as it appreciates that, that part of life as well.
Yeah, there's a guy I read. Actually, this is a very good book. I think you like it. It's called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, right?
I'll check it out.
Guy is called Robert Piercing. Robert or Richard? Robert Piercing, I think. Robert Piercing, right? And in the book, he's writing about insanity, right? So he had an episode of insanity. His son had the same episode. Actually, in the book, he sort of hints that his son may have the same issues, mental issues, But in the book, he sort of justifies why he's not insane, right? Like, the insane person, I'm not insane.
100%. Exactly. But it's clearly not us. It's clearly good.
So that is what he's writing. It's a very, very nice book. It's very, very detached. It's sort of, it's not sensationalistic at all. It's quite a good book to read. But sort of it breaks down fundamental phenomena into three, right? He says the senses phenomena, the shit you sense. Something scratches you, something is seen, something is smelled, something is heard, something is tasted, right? And then he says the intellectual phenomena, right? Where you argue abstract shit, like Newton stuff, right? Where you see an apple falling and you use that experience to deduce sort of fundamental laws of physics, of how things can flow, and you can predict things that are far, far away just by thinking about shit, right? So he says there's that intellectual phenomenon, and then the third one, he says the social phenomenon, and that I think is where he was trying to justify insanity, right? You can sort of, in your experience, for example, right? You can see he gave this nice example, right? If an insane person is being tested in an asylum before they admit him, and this book was old, it's I think in 1970s or something, right?
Well ago.
So if you go to a mental asylum, and then whoever is going to admit you draws like a picture of a girl, right, with ink, and then they ask you, what is this? And then you say, man, I'm seeing what? Ink strokes and stuff like that. They take you in that you're insane, yet you're actually speaking the truth, right? That is what it is. They want you to say you see a girl, right?
So it's like a Rorschach test. you like the Rorschach, like you see something, it's there, but as in what you're saying, there's an intersection. There are ink things. So just because you don't see a girl, they
exactly.
They see you as insane.
True. Exactly. That's what he's saying. So he's saying that I think the argument was also about truth. It's a very deep book. Okay, I can't
have
like
to
break
check
it
that
down.
out.
Yeah, I can't break it all
have
down
to
for you.
check
But
that
yeah, so
down.
that is where he's saying the social phenomenon, right? Where you have to sometimes compromise your understanding, right? To say, okay, this guy wants me to see a girl, right? I'm seeing strokes of ink, but this covenant of sanity we have is I have to anticipate what this guy wants me to see, and so I tell him that's what I'm seeing, right?
That's the covenant of sanity. That's crazy.
It's a very, very, very good book.
Yeah,
And
like
so,
it started back into Buddhism in a way. Like in Buddhism, the people don't say that this guy is wrong. They say you don't understand what he's saying.
yeah.
So no one is crazy. No one is too. You're just seeing life from different windows, but you're in the
Exactly.
same house.
Yeah,
So
no,
it's one
I
of
think
those things.
you read that book. It's almost the whole story is about that, and it's sort of what's the word? It's a Chitakwa. I think the word is Chitakwa. Yeah. So it's like a book about travel. So he goes on a bike ride with his son, and just in between, like he dives
Yeah.
deep into
Yeah.
like
Philosophical
real
thing.
philosophical shit. You know, it's
Let me ask you about this. I read a. Let me digress. It was a tweet. What was it? Yesterday, someone tweeted something along the lines of, in economies, in good economies, which are thriving, private companies, the private sector thrives, right? In poor economies, the public sector thrives. And now Uganda is in a stage where the economy is so poor, so now the best place to work is in the public sector.
yeah.
So one of my friends said, that's true, but also partially, Uganda has a human resource problem. So I was like, what do you mean by that? It's like Ugandans want to be paid a lot, yet they do little.
Okay.
Now, the private companies can't do that
Yeah.
because they expect productivity. So that leads Ugandans to steal from these private companies. The only place where you can work very little and still get paid is the public sector. The only place you can steal money from and still remain in your job is the public sector. And I was like, this all makes sense. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's entirely true. I think they're not even arguing against each other.
Yeah, they're just connecting, making it full circle,
yeah,
man.
but I mean, I think this the example was in the Soviet Union with the Cold War thing, you know, capitalism versus socialism, with the late 90s, where sort of there was a new reality in the Soviet Union. You know, it was the thing was crashing. You know, like there was no economy fundamentally. People were starving, but yeah, there were all these guys claiming that the experiment, the socialism, the communism experiment is actually working. You know, it's a thing. But most of the people who were actually successful were the people who are hired by government, right? And they did what sort of Savoy is, I think, trying to do now, where they got like they could find a shoeman and make him be the boss at the company, right?
Yeah,
and so it's sort of like a solidarity move that, now since the company is the workers thing, it's no longer like a capitalist, no capitalist owns this factory. Since the workers thing, the guy who has been polishing shoes on the road is as qualified as anyone else to be the boss, you know. Yeah, so that's I think that's some of the fun. Yeah, but this is the same shit now we are doing, by the way. It's there's communism, the China approach, right? Where China realized that although we want to do our communism thing, we still want to acknowledge that there are some people who are more efficient in some things than others, right? Yeah. So there are people who are better at math. There are people who are better at management.
They didn't ignore competence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, competence. That's the word, right? There's competence in humans, right? And it differs.
Yeah.
But in Russia, the communism illusion sort of gave them this presupposition that everyone is equal, right? Yeah, and so there's a...
That's where you go wrong, where you think everyone
Exactly.
is
But that's the same thing that's happening here as well, is... you see now, for example, I think when Sevo was swearing in, he sort of made up his opposition. He said this guy of Obote's son is the leader of opposition, right? So he's sort of like now there's a reality, and then now there's a reality that the government is trying to manufacture, right? Exactly, the kayfabe thing. And then, you know, like
wrestling.
and inviting people like Full Figure, for example, you know, sort of those are... I don't know who they represent, but you know, if you're going to swearing in, you're supposed to represent some sort of demographic, right? Butcherman, so apparently Butcherman is representative of the ghetto youth, you know.
They have the alternatives, yeah? They have the alternatives.
But you know, like this goes to kind of the Soviet, but that's the same thing with companies. You know, they fired this guy. I know the story is he left nicely.
Kabushanga.
Yeah. They fired him, right? And now they got this guy who was tweeting for Sevo. I mean, he has some skill level there, but still.
Sure.
Yeah, but again, let's wait and see how that goes. But the assumption here is literally anyone, as long as your only qualification has to be loyalty to Sevo, you can run an institution like New Vision. Right?
Now, if you have the competence, you're
exactly.
You're in the tunnel.
Actually, if you have the competence and a threat, because you actually can think.
Now, anytime you can switch. Now, I was thinking, I don't know if we spoke about this last time. Still so mesmerizing to me. Have you seen that picture of Naguru, which is split in half between the part of Naguru which is green and the part of Naguru which is like a slum?
No, I haven't seen it, but
I see it by head. Man. Oh my gosh! It's separated by like one road. Then the other day I saw there's a island. I don't know if it's a Cayman Island or something like that. There's a house for 1.3 million. The island, you get the whole. Now, guys are comparing it to like, what can 1.3 million get for you land in Naguru or in Kololo? That's when it clocked to me in my head. I was like, we're in a bubble here. The housing, the real estate bubble in Uganda is something wrong. True. And the only reason that is, it's however much people want to ignore it, it's stolen money. Because it's only those people who have, because the market exists. The market doesn't lie. People are buying houses at that amount.
At 2M,
At 2M,
exactly.
people have the
you're
cash.
Right. You're right.
So now, if you're a simple Ugandan man, right, who wants to buy a house in Naguru because you feel like you deserve to live in Naguru, you cannot compete with those guys. So the prices have been set at at what end? Now, because the unless the government's transition, right, and the money moves from one people to the other, how else?
Actually that makes sense then, because if you have your actual money you've had earned and you want to do something with it, then there's no value for you to spend 2M just buying what?
Especially if you made your money in a legit manner, because you're playing a different game with those guys. Those are not your houses, are not for you. You're not in that.
The idea is this guy who's buying the land at 1.5 in Naguru, he's just trying to find a way to like I don't know if it's called laundering, to just sort of store it there. It's sort of like a bank in some sort.
It's a bank.
Let me leave it here and let the chaos. So if the investigation, let that shit settle down while So,
but I feel like because it's a bubble and banks are not involved, it's much harder to bust. Because no one has borrowed money here. The money is there, and guys have bought it. So that bubble might be there forever because they own this shit.
No.
So that's something to think about. Unless.
I see. So you see, the thing also with land, what I'm imagining, right? Right now, you see these guys raising condominiums.
These things.
This guy stuff, right? So you go and buy an apartment and sort of an apartment title, and so the innovation around that is going to change. I think it's Malaysia or Singapore, one of those two countries, right? They have their housing system around that. It's very cheap.
Singapore.
But you buy you buy up, right? You don't buy land. Land is too expensive, so if you want to But what that makes, even I think the US, what that means is, if you're in LA, in California, for example, I know California is really big. If you're in LA, maybe California also has that fire thing, right? If you're in LA, you can't get, say, the apartment I live in, the 2-bedroom apartment. You can't get it if you don't have like a very good job, say in tech or in like acting or whatever, right? But that money that can enter the apartment can also buy an acre of land, like further in the country in California, right? Because that the land there has like land has no value until like a bunch of like real rich people decide to come and develop it, right? They come and throw like say 6 billion in it. So there is that. But what I don't understand about Naguru, for example, is what is the value add there, right? What is it about like say Naguru, even Kololo? Okay, maybe Kololo is next to town,
but has it changed? Have they changed really? Nothing. Apart from maybe Acacia Mall is nearby now. Small things like that. Maybe new bars, new clubs. Now that's the worst thing. The worst thing is when these areas surrounding Naguru, Kololo, they adopt that whole whole price, range. So now it becomes expensive for everyone just because guys have stolen money and bought prices at these houses where they want to hold it. So now you find land which was supposed to be like 30M. You find the guy is selling at 150. Just because he has to compete with.
That's the thing.
Crazy. It's like a ripple effect with all of these things.
And with land, the thing is, right now, what you say, it's sort of like a bubble that can stretch forever. I bought a small plot where I built my house, right? And at that time, people are telling me, this may be too expensive for the what? For the place. It's somewhere in Sonde there, as you're going to say it. But today, you know, that same plot, it sort of appreciates over, like, say, 20%. Like every year.
Every year.
Yeah, like since
That's
I bought
crazy.
it, like every year I have like millions on. Yeah, and anyone just says, and I mean, any day I say, you know, I'm willing to sell it.
Yeah.
The market is ready. It's not
they'll take
like
it from you.
I have to look for like rich people something.
They'll have to.
And it's odd, but that's the thing with land almost everywhere. You know, apart from I've been to.
Yeah, land appreciates.
Yeah, it
never depreciates. You know, like Uganda is going to become one of those places where people, or at least Kampala, people are going to say houses are so expensive in that place. For what reason? Why? Even outsiders are going to be like, Kampala is just so expensive for houses, and this is the fundamental reason.
Yeah, but isn't that still going to like? So if it pushes me, for example, if I want big land, right? What Salim Saleh is doing, right? To go and now start building a base in Nakasongola, for example, right? Because it's there's bigger land. Also, Nakasongola's geography is like nice because like in the middle of the country. So if isn't this like ideally going to be pushing everyone to, you know, move further, because now Kampala will become hard to like invest in. But anyway,
I feel like it would be the perfect storm if maybe we're like a first world country. You know, like because of COVID, we'd be doing Zoom. Places will be getting decentralized. No one still goes to come to town to work. Then you can live in like, you know, Bwebadra, and your office is just right there. Or you're in Zoom with guys. You know, you just gotta be perfect. But right now,
this is what it is. You have to be next to your shop.
You have to be otherwise.
There's a tweet that I also read about what this guy who tweeted that I'm going to Kampala, blah blah blah, and then I think one person responded that let me know when you're on the ground. I am also planning to come in the future. But when the guy came, it had flooded. So the guy responded to the tweet, I'm in a river.
Oh man, you guys. So I'm like, anyway, those are Kampala's problems, man. Now things like just roads, that's infrastructure, that's drainage, which has failed the country.
Yeah, like but that is like a real symptom of how people are planning the what? Like the lack of planning. So
like
most of the
planning and
exactly. Most of the administration in Kampala is pushed by sort of inevitable forces, right? If you see like health, it is just good enough to treat people basically, right? So if you have like a real health complication, you can't go to Mulago, right? You can't go to Mulago. But you know, if you have malaria, you're sorted, right?
Sort you
Malaria, they can sort you out. You know, like that basic shit, that is where we are, right? And because malaria, there are people who care about how many people are dying of malaria, but also, you know, the fatalities. If you ignore malaria, it can actually really kill people, right?
So people die of it too.
Exactly. But when it comes to like flooding, so we have people just sort of patch the roads enough so we can pass in good weather, right?
So everything is just basic, eh?
Exactly.
I think that's why we're at the mercy of COVID, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing I also don't understand.
Because if COVID came for us the way it came for like even Kenya, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
Let alone India. Like if get like would really suffer in this place.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But you're the guy who knows guys up there. What kind of witchcraft does this guy have, man?
Where COVID is not eating us. You guy, I have no idea. I don't know whether it's the tropics as a country. Maybe our viral load.
Much luck, man.
I was seeing cases the other day. Some days you find 72 and that's a lot.
Hey, man.
Just 72 cases in the whole country. And it's not like we're hearing that. It's not like they're hiding. As in, we'd be hearing
that's the thing. Yeah.
We'd be hearing that maybe this hospital is packed. Occasionally we hear about someone who got it and they got better. But it's not finishing us the way it has finished other countries.
Yeah, no. That's the thing is.
But you might find our health. What we did something right. Maybe Ugandans are cowards. Guys stayed at home when they told him stay at home. Witchcraft is hot.
Man,
hot witchcraft.
Yeah, this guy is calling anyway, no, obviously it can't be witchcraft.
But like, yeah.
What the fuck? Like even India, you know, for me at first I thought there's something that people are not studying about, you know, like how our urban areas are not very different from India, you know, the chaos, the disorganization and that shit. And I thought it doesn't look like it, but there's something in that chaos that is making us immune, you know, it's making the society just immune. And most of these, if you look at, say, Italy, if you look at Scandinavia, you know, most of those places that are too neat, they got hit, right? Yeah. If you look at China, for example, it also got hit. I mean, China recovered, but the hit was big. And I thought the difference we have with China is we are chaotic. We are people who don't have a structure.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. We're just all around.
yeah.
That's why maybe unless we all got it,
And then we
came,
yeah.
and most of us
got,
queued
like,
from
hard
a long
immunity,
time
that shit,
ago.
yeah.
Like maybe like last year towards the end, we might have gotten like a strain. When guys got bad flu, they were like, "What's happening to us?" Da, 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 da. And we healed from it. Other than that, the only scientific answer I have is like maybe the UV light from the UV.
I see,
we're
I
always
see,
in the
I see.
sun.
Okay, I see. Yeah,
Da, da, da.
yeah. I
And
mean,
maybe that.
that's the thing, but
Because guys here are never at home. I felt like it's gloomy and whatnot. People here don't smoke a lot of cigarettes.
yeah. People, we don't smoke a lot. Yeah, maybe that's.
Italy finished those guys.
Yeah.
But also
Italy,
Sweden.
but-
Sweden has beaten it. Those are guys that didn't even.
Yeah, but for them they didn't
measures.
they didn't give a fuck. But that's the same shit. Okay, for us we technically give a fuck, but
right now, as in
no one
well,
really,
yeah,
no one, yeah.
no one really.
That's there was also that thing I read, and I was asking Davis again when we had him about the same thing about people, the assumption, and I think I heard about it on Joe Rogan that the ventilators were actually killing people, right?
Yeah.
If they put you on that ventilation before you actually need it, it fucks your lungs up instead.
Tells your lungs to relax. There's something helping us with
yeah.
this already, so they can't.
So maybe because we are not rich enough to have
Ventilators and whatnot. Yeah. You never know, man. Even like workers and whatnot. Was it ever packed? No, but there's a point in time when it was, I think, at its peak, when you had to pay like 5 million per day in IHK if you had COVID.
Yeah,
When
there's that time.
came,
I think, I think end of last year, by the way. There's that time where
it came.
well, like also on WhatsApp, like people were running around, voice notes were running around about the situation in Mulago and situations around those other places.
Guys took it seriously when that RIP, when that general died. When that army died. Some guys realized that COVID is here for real, man. But then now, don't you think, like going forward, don't you think this is not going to be a last pandemic? I was reading some article which was saying that the real enemy here is China's culture, because China has this culture of, I don't know what it's called, but they have a culture of eating animals which should not be eaten. When you're a young man, to turn you into a man.
Oh yeah, we should not be eaten. Who's to decide what should
So now, some guy ate a bat. See what's happened here. Now,
Yeah.
if that culture continues, it's not going to be a last pandemic.
Well, I mean, what to do? But I think right now, for me, I like the shock that COVID brought. So Bill Gates, I think, also gave a TED talk in 2015 about a pandemic we could be too vulnerable to. And there have been conversations around that. I think even Obama said something similar, right? And now it has come, and it was like serious. It wasn't ignorable, but it also, at least in Uganda, we survived, right? And so I think that now is the time that we prepare, all this global warming
Because
stuff.
the death rate was 60%.
Yeah, exactly.
So that would be a completely. We would not be recording a podcast.
No, I mean, true. That would be really, really
It
bad.
would be really, really bad.
Yeah, but
So I guess now, like third world countries, how would we prepare?
but no, that's the thing is, you see how like the global leaders, right? The Bill Gates and those guys are pushing people to be green. They can push people to be sort of to worry about like a next pandemic, right? Yeah, they sort of can start designing, and I
Almost
think
like
this is
a
going.
disaster preparedness.
Yeah, exactly,
but
disaster preparedness.
global.
Because me, I'm not worried about global warming, right? Because I know even at its worst, it will come after I've
What are you
died.
most worried about in the world right now? What are you most worried about?
So this is the thing, this pandemic thing. Yeah, this thing, first of all, right now we don't know if it was weaponized, if this was China trying to weaponize, or another country, maybe not China, right? But in the scenario where, say China, or okay, maybe not China, say a country that Iran, maybe. Iran is one we can beat up on. No one cares about Iran. So say Iran decides to make a global statement, right? By manufacturing something similar to COVID, right? A flu that doesn't kill instantly. Like if you create like a bioweapon that kills immediately, it's easier for people to defend themselves against that. I say something with Ebola. That's why Ebola did not become like a global fact, because Ebola, if you get it, the symptoms are immediate. You die, so we can isolate people and let them die, and the rest of us survive, right? But if you create like a flu like COVID, where you can have it even up to like a month, you're asymptomatic, right? But if whoever manufactured it is sure that this is hard to detect from the beginning, but it kills for sure. COVID doesn't kill for sure. Something like that. If a weapon like that is made, now that is more existential for me. I feel like that kills us
can
faster
finish us off
than
properly.
Yeah.
I think this is don't sound woo, but I'm most worried about bad ideas in general. I think they have the potential to. Okay, obviously you die physically, but they have the potential to take your life away from you. You'll be dead, but you're living. Things like tribalism, things like, for example, how even simple things like equity, which we talked about last time.
Yeah.
Find someone saying, okay, what's diversity? They say diversity is when you have like half engineer should be male, half should be female, half should be white, half should be black. No, it's true. You can think about diversity. If they all think the same way, is that diversity? At the same time, there's competence. Are they all competent? Because if they are not equally competent and you're basing it off of their sex or their gender, then you're taking away from the people who are actually competent. What should those people do? And inadvertently, you're also stealing from society, because who knows what those guys would have created.
Yeah.
And who knows, these guys who you put there, the mistakes they might make, you're going to make society devolve. That's one thing. Then just things like socialism. The way, I don't know why human beings never learn from. We learn from science. We can never back in science. But like with things like morality and like ethics, people have to make the same mistakes as if history doesn't exist. Till someone makes the ultimate mistake.
I see what you mean.
Because socialism is going to happen. You see people saying it makes sense, because I'm sure they've read Karl Marx. In the States, you see that left, like, they want socialism back, they want. But what's going to happen when it comes back and more people die? Obviously, a pandemic will come and put the full stop, assuming it comes. But in the meantime, you want the quality of life. It's just bad ideas.
I see what you mean by that way. Yeah, but what is that though? Like, because inevitably you have to. For me, I feel like that's human nature, right? Like among say 100 people, you're going to find that one guy who, again, what you said, who's contrarian. But contrarian negative way, you don't be that till.
Regardless of what you say to that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
He's always going to say no.
Yeah, for him he just wants shit to get fucked up.
100%. But then there's also like that, like, I don't even fear that individual. There's the madness of crowds. Which is completely.
But isn't it like that one individual
who starts it?
Who's like charismatic enough to move the crowd? That's it. But that's most of these guys. You see, they say, what was the word? This guy mobilized with 13-year-old kids. You know what kind of story do you tell a 13-year-old kid to go and fight in the war? That kind of charisma, right?
I always tell people, stop listening to crazy charismatic people.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. And the thing that I'm seeing, especially in like Silicon Valley, right? There's a negative thing now towards charisma, right? Like the guys for me I've worked for, if you say go into a meeting and try to give like a very powerful moving speech, guys start looking at you like, what the fuck is this guy
up to, man? This guy's trying to recruit us into a sex cult or something. That's how this shit starts.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is like, that, and for me I like that, I hate like, that shit where you go in a meeting, the guy gives a funny powerful speech, he looks at you, now you don't know how to react. So now you have to nod, you have to feel like, you have to pretend like,
man, I'm understanding what you're saying. This is brilliant, man. You guys. That's the thing. It's not one charismatic crazy guy who's crazy enough to, direct people in the. And obviously, like, when somebody said there's one guy who is bad, there's one guy who is good. Now there's the status quo. You obviously want to be on the good guy side, if he's mobilizing people in a good way to say, you guys, as in, fuck what's happening right now. This is better, and everyone understands. But the worst thing is that also a bad guy thinks that he's doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. But also, I think
that us versus them mentality is just, that's how human beings are. Almost gives them an identity, because they don't understand that there is no self. It's all based. It all comes back to some type of spirituality. If you're out of touch with that and you don't understand what's really going on inside, you're going to start to look for external memories, for external things to define what's on the inside. How you're going to end up find yourself in the bush. You're a rebel in Myanmar.
No, but I think that's exactly what happens too. And this guy, he came back. I don't know if you listen to his work. Peterson. So he has come back and now
I
he's
say it's the
also,
second book.
yeah. I've read the book actually. The book is good. The book is, it's sort of, I think he had this all in plan before.
Yeah,
So
right.
the first book was, how can I explain it like the way I understood it? That 12 Rules of Order. It's sort of an appeal to like, say in the US, right? The people who are mostly on the right, to, with a sort of a liberal inclination, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, rather to people on the left with like a right, conservative inclination, right? Like, I know you want all the freedom and all that, but structure is important,
Yeah,
right?
structure,
So
find
that is,
some order in your life,
exactly.
yeah.
That is what the book
Organize
is
your
about.
room.
Exactly, organize your room, that shit. And now the second book, Beyond Order, is mostly for the conservative guys to be like, hey, chill out,
Relax a bit. I read one of the chapters where it speaks about
like,
appreciating the beauty
exactly,
of taking a walk.
So I
like,
think he
relax
planned
a
it
bit.
all.
Oh, yeah.
It's genius.
Brilliant.
It's,
Let you look at
it's
it,
smart.
man.
So but he's making like speeches continuously. About he's coming back basically to the waves. He's
that guy's a
like,
brilliant man. I think everyone, at least even if you disagree with him, he's worth a listen.
Yeah. No, I think though that this experience he has had has sort of made him more authentic. Okay, now he's getting like breakdown. So most of the speeches you can like it tears down and cries and shit like that. But I think it's mostly because it's not just recovering, right? But
It's funny, like in my head, I don't know why I'd never like thought, as in you see Jordan Peterson, I think that guy should never have problems. He has figured life out, right? Like he's a proper, but he's going through the most addiction problems, cries on TV, break, as in, you realize he's a human being.
Yeah.
He's literally just a human being. So at what point do we dissociate? I think with if anyone tries to like be interesting or be knowledgeable, if anyone's not content with who they are, to a certain extent you're alienated from society because you have almost no one to relate to, or you're just different in one way or the other. And the more you pursue the things which you're interested in, which make you different, the further you go from society, right? And this might or might not be Jordan Peterson's problem, but I've realized the most remarkable people I've met are in one way or the other unhappy. And it always comes down to the lack of human beings around them to relate to. But when they speak, it's always when they're with people, so you think they're always with people.
Yeah. No, true.
But when they're alone, they're completely on their own adventures.
But I think you watched Elon Musk SNL thing, monologue. You know, he was on SNL.
Yeah.
And I think the sort of like a joke, but I think was for me the most interesting question. I'm trying to take people away from Earth. Building guys and shit, and you guys think I'm still going to be like some chill normal guy. But ideally, that's like most of those guys. Most people who have the capacity to invest themselves into building some significantly. Things that are significant
out of this world.
Exactly. Those are people who spend a significant amount of their time alone, just trying to understand life. It's the same thing they say. Newton died a virgin. He spent his time trying to
read this
and shit
article
like
by
that.
Neil Strauss in the Rolling Stone on Elon Musk. When they interviewed him, he was crying. He has 5 ex-wives. He has failed to find love, shit like that. I was like, damn, this is crazy. You never see this when you're reading an article on Wade by Twy about, his SpaceX rockets and whatnot. This is like the coolest guy in the world to you.
Man.
But that's the balance in life.
But that's the thing.
Do I believe in balance? Don't you believe you can have it all?
I don't know, man.
I think if you believe you can have it all, you can have it all. If you believe in balance is what you're going to get.
I think, there's a performance. Even Bill Gates, the wife left him. Most of the guys who claim to have the balance, it's a performance, man.
It's a performance.
Guys
are performing.
We just don't know, man. Imagine Bill Gates. Like that guy, he didn't have like any conflict apart from like conspiracy theories.
The world loved conspiracy theories
apart from
and
that
whatnot.
shit. He didn't. And I listened to some guy's podcast. I forget what the name is. And the guys were like analyzing the news and how Bill Gates doesn't have negative news, and they were saying he's paying. So now I believe it more. At first it was conspiracy theory, but the wife left him. So now I believe that shit. The guy, so not like direct paying, but he invests a lot in almost all news agencies. So it's like a financial risk for them to run stupid stories about
shit,
him.
because he's going to stop giving you money.
Exactly. Yeah. So I read that, and he's one of the guys and again I've spent a significant amount of my mental that shit over why he stays in my head rent free.
Rent free processing power.
This surprised me.
The thing is that also does it to what extent is it psychological? Because as in you can be so much in your head and you forget to see how far you've come. You give yourself zero context. So to the world, you may look like you're kawa, you're balanced, but in your head, there's so much shit that is off. You know, you're perfectionist. So many things are going wrong in your head. You're about to lose it. But that's with you. But at the end of the day, that's what matters.
But the alternative is most people now sort of project on others, right? So when you get overwhelmed by not meeting your own expectations, the expectations set for yourself, you start
to throw that shit on someone else.
Yeah, okay, so there's that, but there's also starting to set up fake competitions so you can feel good about yourself, right? So you say you chill with people who you've achieved better than. So when you reflect, you're like, okay, maybe I've not achieved the shit I want. But I'm better than this guy, right? So
like
there's also
cushion,
anyway, you read that guy's book about society, so sort of like that all makes sense to me.
I'll definitely
it's probably
check it
multiple time reads. I don't know, like I can't give you like very concrete examples of what the guy meant, but
those things you have to read more than once. That's a very good point about projection, man. Talking to my boy about girls the other day. I said he was one of those guys who approaches girls with a bravado, a big dick energy. He's willing to pay for everything and whatnot. Thinks, the baby, this is what she's after. It's a girl who had money, so I assumed she wasn't after the money. But he was spending so much money on her, and I was wondering, you guys, why is this not working? It's not working, as she's not feeling me. But I was like, boss, you're literally projecting psychologically. Because money matters to you, you think it matters to her. She's looking for other things, which you possibly have, but you're just not. Can you market yourself properly?
But that's the thing also. Like, I used to judge people like that, right? I used to say, people who front the money when they're going to pick up girls. But now now I'm grown, I'm old, and I'm very wise now, so. But the guys who use money, sometimes they literally have nothing else to offer.
Exactly, they have nothing else.
And it's okay. It says that to judge them like, oh, these shallow motherfuckers.
Yeah,
they have.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, that's what they have. That's how they decided to start with.
God gave them
honest
the money.
with themselves.
But they know now. For me, what am I going to do? No poetry else for the girl. What? No, let me take her to the beach and let me drive by in the fancy car. That shit, man. There is nothing literal I know else to do.
There's nothing else, man.
And it works for them.
It works for them, that's the thing.
And sometimes it works for them.
To each his own. But then, as in, does it really work? It depends on how badly. Does it really work?
Yeah, but usually people who are that shallow, still, when they get to a place where they are, I'm saying people who are that shallow, I may be one of them. I'm not judging. I'm saying to be in the category of shallow people, right? Do you are you still you're not looking for also deep ideals, right? So you go for the girl who'd impress your friends more, right? Actually, I think the game is not even to impress the girls. The game is to hold your station in society, right?
Society,
yeah. 100%. So I'm me. Guys know me as the money guy. But now...
And what the money buys products. So
exactly,
that's an assumption that this is something which you've bought.
Exactly. So if I move around with this very, very hot chick, then, people know that my money has value. I know how to...
Here.
Exactly. And for them, I think that's the game. And,
but at the same time, as in... When someone comes along with more money, since that's who you are, your value is attached to the money. What's going to happen there?
Yeah, exactly. But that's the same thing is, what is the alternative, right? So if you got to know the person, right? So
she loves you because you're funny. A funnier guy comes, huh?
Yeah, exactly. What happens?
What happens then?
That's the thing.
That's why I feel like she has to know you as you. As you. So she knows you're one of one. Is another... You're going to come up. No, there's only one you.
Yeah, no, true.
And that might entail levels of... witchcraft, anyway, that may entail,
I don't know.
super deep connections and whatnot.
Yeah, I agree. Like there's the kind of vulnerability,
things,
sort of, But still, if you're 25, right? If you're 25, 26, and you've not had a strong relationship with a girl, right? Because maybe you're doing other shit, or because you grew up poor, and there are some people, by the way, who grow up. They're poor at home, right? And they know the priority right now is to make money, so I don't have to worry
Yeah,
about
yeah.
food like my dad did, right? And so you spend 25 years of your life, that is sort of the commitment you made
Yeah.
to make money. And at 26, you break through, you get your first deal here, they give you the deal for the
Peace.
tents of parliament, you
Hey.
make 8 million a day.
You make your cash, yeah. You make your clean cash.
You know now, okay, money is sorted. Cutting now, the next stage in life is, I need to find a mate, right?
Yeah, let me find a chick.
Yeah, and now where do you start? Because you can go with the, you know, like if you don't end up marrying like one of those girls you've hustled with, you know, who has known you when you're poor, like version 1, who has seen the version 1
From
metamorphosize
where
into,
you had-
you know,
where
they
you-
reach you. Then the version of girls who are going to see you when you're rich, and they just hear the words of, you know, the poor guy who made it as just a story in a book.
Yeah.
They can never know you. It's very, very impossible. It's hard, if not impossible, to like.
Yeah, they can never truly understand
exactly.
you and where you've come from.
So when you try like 2 of them, you're like
they're
why
really
the
not my
f-
type.
yeah.
I can have fun with them and whatnot, but they're not
Exactly.
proper
Well,
married
you
material.
resort to money. You're like a star. I made the money.
That's
Let's see what money
very
does.
interesting, man. But,
But-
I guess how many people have stories that are that robust, that are
Yeah,
that,
not
you know,
true,
that are sorry, that you know. Most people just stay in that. I guess so. Those are anomalies. Most people stay in their tax bracket their whole lives.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's
So
true. Yeah.
most of the time you're going to find a chick, you've almost had the same lives, you can relate to the same thing, you can. So now if it just so happens you find one when you're, let's say, at whatever age, and I know you'd have to switch. For someone to truly appreciate you for your money, you'd have to make, someone has to make money somewhere.
Yeah, no, that's anyway. Yeah. But if you look at, for example, Cafero, right, or Radio, yeah, Cafero married out of his station when he married that California chick who he thought Uganda, the chick knew Uganda before, right? But still, there were people living in totally different universes, right? It
Different,
just couldn't work, right? So that, and I don't think the chick liked Cafero because of the money, maybe because the guy was a rock star, yeah. But you know, still they just couldn't get it to work. And most of it's the same thing with radio. Most people like judge those musicians who shoot high. Maybe Chameleon is just a player, you know. Chameleon started with the dollar tube.
Yeah.
But maybe for him, you know, it looks like a guy who calculates a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe for him was like looking after himself. Yeah. But still, man, like relationships right now.
But the thing is that this, we're assuming money is the, you know, underlying factor. This is the context of this conversation. But you can find a chick who likes a guy who doesn't have as much money, right? But he has a good head on his shoulders and he carries himself in a very original manner. And she'll like him for him. And she might have a boyfriend and she'll cheat on the boyfriend who has money with him.
So this is
And, you know,
I understand
these things
that.
happen, right?
So here is the thing about people who cheat on like their spouses or boyfriends to stay with some guys with some so-called appealing characters. Most people, you know, who have those characters are just appealing enough for you to be on the side, right? This chick would actually never. No, this is the truth, though. This is the truth, right? What do you say, like, you know, the chick, for example, is married to a Haji with a big stomach and a very small dick, and that shit, you know, like all the bad things.
You can call him what you want, but she's with him.
Yeah, exactly. She goes home, and you know, when she's looking for adventure, when those moments when like those are very small moments in life, then she calls you, and then you feel like you're playing the Haji. You're not, man.
You're
Because at the point when you tell the chick, you know what, now make a life decision, leave the Hajj and
that's
come
hilarious,
and
man.
it just doesn't happen.
That's very true.
It just doesn't. It's for me. Okay, I think money is important to a certain point, right? You need to be comfortable. You know, you can put food on the table. You can treat. You can, you know, you have access to like healthcare. You have like at least, you know, every once in a while you have access to fun. You know, you can go to the bar. You can go on a trip on that shit. Like basic money.
Yeah, your kawa. You know,
Your kawa. Then when you have that, the alternative is either you make more money, so you can spend money to entertain the woman.
Yeah, your cup is overflowing.
Yeah, exactly. Or you put in the work to now entertain the woman. You know,
You
like
your personality.
yeah,
well.
exactly. Yeah, you become
Yeah.
funnier. You become
I'm dead. I was about to say all factors constant, but that's not life.
exactly. Yeah.
All factors are never constant,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
But yeah, anyway,
Super
that's
interesting, man.
that's
Oh my
it,
God.
man. So what are you up to by the besides there? I know we drifted from like business. What else up to? I see your muscles are.
Yeah, man. I always try to stay like the gym for me is like it's almost like church, and I don't even mean that in a blasphemous way. Like I always have to go. As in, and thank God, as in, it's a habit which I started when I was in uni. But like, it's even for my mind. Like, if I know I have to make like decisions which are important, or like I have to think about something which matters to me, I have to go to the gym first.
Wait, and do you have like a practice thing, or do you
like a regimen which I follow?
Okay, I see.
Yeah. Like thrice a week. Thrice a week I go thrice a week.
And like, what do you like? That's the thing. Like
what do I
try
work
to
on?
do,
Like
but-
in the gym, man, you just start.
I mean,
the
that's
sooner the better. Huh?
So that's the thing. I even bought a machine. I have a machine at my
Eh?
home for weights. But still.
Like one of those things, and it's hard to like people say the heaviest weight in the gym is the front door. As soon as you get in and you start to realize what the fuck, it not took me so long to get here, right? So yeah, I just do like different muscle groups: chest one day,
I see.
back another day, legs another day, arms another day. That's
And
the
you have like a
rotate.
trainer or something, like someone
that.
who
I
like
had
a
to
coach.
do it by myself, man. I had to I search myself YouTube, what works, what
I
doesn't,
see.
science backing it up and whatnot, and also diet has to come into play. Because it's just like now I like going to the gym in the morning because it feels to me like like when you're playing pool and like you hit the balls, that first shot which breaks the balls.
yeah.
If you go to the gym, it's a perfect start to the day, right?
I see.
Then you can start winning with the rest of the balls, meditation, and if you have something else to do, your diet. So it's just like a domino effect with.
I see. So would you prefer like having one at home or like going out to like? Is there a value in that extra effort of like getting out of bed, getting out of the house?
Oh
and then-
man, that's crazy because some people enjoy it's like the ritual,
Yeah.
of like dressing up, entering the
Yeah,
car.
yeah.
They enjoy the whole ritual.
yeah,
of doing-
that's-
I don't think so. For me, it's the opposite because in uni, when I started, the gym was literally like from here to where Mark is. Because right as soon as I open my door, my apartment, the gym is right there. So there's no excuses in my head. And at the time, it was hard for me to like build like a willpower to go. Especially in the morning, I'm like, man, do I really have to go? That conversation in my head, 30 minutes, I'm deciding. Yet I could have actually worked out in that time. I was just like, man, what? Just go. Then it becomes part of you. Now, when you don't go, you feel weird. You feel very guilty.
it's
It's
more
almost
of an
like your
addiction
conscience takes. Yeah, your conscience takes you there eventually.
I see. Wow. Yeah, that's. I would say at first I used to have the excuse that this thing is for rich people. It's the same thing as meditation. It's not if you don't have food for tomorrow. It's hard for you to sit in an hour's practice, right? It is hard for you to sit and listen and smell and see. It's extremely hard. But you get to a place where you're comfortable enough. You don't worry about okay. I mean, you have problems. You don't have problems, but you have problems. But you can spare an hour away from your problems, right? But that's the same thing. That's excuse I had with game. It's it's people who are worried about their bodies. It's because they don't have real problems to worry about. Right?
Yeah, real things.
But I got to a place where now I don't have real problems to worry about. But
They call that thing, funny enough, they call that thing consciousness inequality. When you see a poor guy, you tell him, if you just sit down, the guy is toiling. He's maize on his back. Tell him, you just sit down and forget all the problems and breathe. That he can give you a hot slap. It's not going to, as in, people who have the privilege to, understand that can help that guy, regardless of his situation. Even if you also understand why you can never understand that.
Yeah.
Now that's consciousness inequality.
Yeah, no, I think that. Yeah, I think that totally makes sense. There are people who, I would say, maybe their life is like a strong enough meditation. They can't sit down. Seriously, there are people who they have to be it's intense.
It's
from
super
the time
intense,
you wake
man.
up to the time you sleep. You sleep, things are pending. You wake up and roll.
Shit, as in there's no time to.
There's no time to.
That's 100% true, man. But even things like the gym, eating well, sleeping well.
Yeah.
When you think about productivity, the way you think changes completely once you control all those things. Because you go to the gym, it physically exerts your body, but it calms down your mind. You eat well, the chemistry of your body changes. You're sleeping well, you're not anxiety, you're not stressed, no headaches, no what. Now, if you're in a meeting and they tell you to make a decision, or if you're a creative looking for an idea, you think completely different from everyone else. So just doing those things, you're almost like investing in the thing which matters most is when you're doing the actual hard work, which everyone talks about. So you just work differently from everyone else. And guys always ask yourself, man, when does this guy work? As in, they see you doing all these other things. When does he work? It's the work which you put in, it's quality because of all of these other things. So I just think it's it's a tapestry.
No, I think that's true. You're misreading. So this is the thing is, I know if you eat well, you sleep well, those are like totally most
Paramount.
fundamental things. Yeah, obviously drinking is part of eating, and then if you can like get a workout practice, it can be even just basic cardio, right?
Even just walking.
Even walking. But then also if you get the time to like read, if you get like not like read for like like say what I do, right? So I have sometimes to read like documentation about say like new programming languages because it's part of work, but I'm not meaning that reading where there's an intention. If you get time to like read like say philosophical shit, you read like say Carl Jung's work, like some of that ancient work, you read like
100%,
old psychology stuff, that shit alone, like
that
you
can take you to another level.
exactly.
Different stratosphere.
It heals also, man. You read and you're like, oh shit, I used to have this dream, and people have like drawn a whole science about
that
it.
shit makes sense, you guys. And just like, have you ever read something and you're like, I wonder how I used to live before I knew this.
Yeah, exactly.
Then
So
you start thinking about how many other things you don't know.
exactly. So that's exactly the thing. Where you can like have a conversation with someone, and it reminds you of how you were before you knew the thing.
Before you knew the thing you knew, 100%, man. But reading is super important.
And if you, that's true. If you can like create a time for it, like within the eating and the sleeping is important. I know not most people. I think life is too much for them to like get time to sleep. As if you can like get the time to sleep, eat well, obviously. Also, eating well is, by the way, known. It requires effort. Because nowadays, like the bad food is accessible.
Yeah, super accessible. Now, like I think with reading, is I don't know. I find it very hard to understand people who don't read, but then they haven't read a book from the time they're like 15, from like 15 to like let's say 25. But you've experienced so much life. Your vocabulary has not yet it hasn't grown. Your thoughts can't be the same. You're feeling things you can't articulate because you have not read things which are like fertilizing your brain. So how are you going to express yourself? As in, that's why people have outbursts in ways they can't
I agree,
articulate. If you don't have the words but you're feeling things that all just comes down to like an ignorance ultimately of yourself.
No, for me, I think that
you still find knowledge.
That's like, I think that's sort of what I meant when I said the healing back, right? If most of the time what you consider to be anxiety is you just can't put the words to 100%. Your state of experience at that moment, right?
100%.
And if there's
some tension,
exactly. But if you say, even if you read like self-help shit, you read Mark Manson, you read like the subtle art of not giving a fuck. You start to be like, oh fuck, I remember that shit.
Exactly, I remember when I felt this way. Fuck, I'm not alone. As in the people in the world who are experiencing all of these things, right?
And that's it. That's the thing. But for me, it's also like movies. Like if you watch like Deep Stuff, if you watch like HBO's
movies, documentaries,
exactly.
they help.
Oh fuck, I mean, I know someone must have felt that to write it into that character, right?
Write it to that character. But like, there's sometimes when I could watch like. I think it's the advantage of reading philosophy. The only problem with reading philosophy is that no one ever reads philosophy when they're extremely happy.
Really?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, when you read philosophy, you can afford to watch dumb stuff and you can philosophize everything in it. So it's always something to learn. You can watch the dumbest shit. You could go to E and watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians and you'll pick something out and be like, this is crazy. Like, this is a narcissist here. And this is why they did this and and see how they reacted. She's winning. So you can pick, you're not just watching people doing dumb shit as if you don't have a life to live.
No, that's true. So that's the thing now. Like when I'm at home, say with my babe, and we're watching, say, Kardashians are on, and I'm watching, so I have to like watch myself, like putting like philosophical criticism, like saying, our chick is a narcissist. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But I'm just enjoying the shoes.
You're just enjoying the entertainment. These other guys,
like
on a different plane.
Like even like other shows, I have to like keep watching myself before I be like, I'm gonna like say some weird intellectual shit. I'm like, fuck, okay.
Let me come.
Then I just laugh about.
Freud would hate this, man. Freud would hate the show. Freud would hate this.
Just, what the fuck are these guys doing? Let me go away.
Oh man.
Jojo, man, I think this was quite interesting.
Real, man.
This was a good conversation. You should be coming
always
more
is,
often.
man.
Be like rebooting. Now I feel like I remember why we started doing this podcast.
Bro, you guys, whenever.